Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. It's Relationship Wednesday, but today we're shifting gears. We want to focus on the men. Yet again, we're still in May. That means we are still celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month. But when I talk about we are having a panel of men in the studio, and of course, there is a lady, that is Redempta, a psychologist who will be helping us understand why men don't speak up, because that is the conversation you're having this morning. It's not Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, because that will be coming up next month in June, when we'll be celebrating Men's Mental Health Month, a month that is dedicated to help men and to encourage them to speak up. So probably next month we'll be having the same conversation as well. But today, why don't men speak up? And that is the conversation, the question we're asking online as well. So interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE. You can tag me as well at Ann_Dide. And shortly, there will be a number on your screen. We invite you to call in and be part of this conversation. Redempta is here, of course, a psychologist, to provide expert insight on this particular conversation. But I want to start with the men in studio this morning. Elaton. Is this Elaton? Yes. I want to start with you now that you are next to me. Unajua ukiwa karibu na host huwa inakuangukia. When you hear about mental health as a man, what does that mean to you?
According to me, it means the wellness of the mind of a man. The way he thinks, the way he does things mentally. Yeah, so that's the short explanation of mental health.
According to Elaton.
According
Perfect.
to me, yes.
When you say to you it means wellness as a man for you, do you feel like you are in a place where your mental wellness is intact and you're feeling like, hey, sahi niko sawa, or your emotional stability is in the gutters at some point?
I can't say for myself, because some things you can't know by yourself until maybe you hear someone telling you that you are not okay. Maybe you are undergoing a challenge. Yeah, so maybe after learning some things concerning mental health, that's when something happens to you, you now start thinking that maybe I have a problem. Yes.
All right. We'll be coming to unpack that kidogo, but Lesho, what is mental health? When you hear that word, what comes to mind immediately?
Okay, thank you. And when I hear about mental health, it perhaps refers to personal emotions, psychological, and well-being. That is what I can say about mental health.
Brian, I want us to go around with that question just to see if we all understand what mental health really is. But from your perspective as a man, what comes to mind immediately?
Of course, when you speak about mental health, it's just a status of well-being. You know, when you speak about well-being, it will be overall, maybe psychological, maybe even how you relate with people outside. It's all about the status of well-being. Yeah.
Schooly kid, a poet in studio, and you're telling me you have a spoken word for this conversation. I don't know if it's dedicated to the men or just for the month of May in general, to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month. But when you hear about mental health, what comes to mind?
Well, mental health, personally I understand it as the overall emotional well-being of a person.
All right, a well-being of a person, schooling.
Emotional well-being.
All right, let's hear from Bildad. Is it Bildad? Yes. So what comes to mind immediately when you hear about mental health?
To me, mental health is simply psychological as well as emotional well-being, and it is displayed from one's actions, words.
Do you feel like your generation really understand what mental health is and why it is important to take care of the mental health as much as it's important to take care of your physical health?
By generation, you mean Gen Zs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Gen Zs are more woke in matters of mental health. Yeah.
All right.
Compared to older generations.
Okay. Felix?
Yes.
Yes. What comes to mind when you hear about men's mental health? not men's, mental health?
To my case, I think mental health is just about how do you feel, how do you behave, and what do you like. Yes.
Very simple explanations from the panelists. So Redemptor Elaton is talking about sometimes you can't know how you're feeling until somebody tells you how you're feeling. Redemptor is our psychologist in studio, and she'll be helping us unpack, you know, the conversation you're having this morning. But is it really the case? You can't know how you're feeling. You can't know when your emotional or your mental stability is in the gutter. How do you know that you're not okay?
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I also want to, before actually I can react to Elton's statement, okay? I just want to first of all to say thank you to God for this opportunity, and thank you TV 47 for hosting us today. So in reaction to Elton's as to whether one is able to recognize whether they're having mental issues or not, it actually depends, okay? Right. So that would depend on your literacy in the area of mental health, okay? And that again can also be determined by the society, okay? So for instance, like in our society, there's a way that men have been socialized, okay? These are the societal gender roles. There's a way they have been socialized. And they value, these norms actually value what we call stoicism, that is emotional detachment. So when it comes to men, the ability to even know whether they're having these symptoms might be a challenge for them, because the society dictates that they're not supposed to express or to show inability to be in control. They must always have this stance of being strong. And then there's also the aspect of being silent. Okay, so that is how the male-dominated society has shaped men. So for them, they're highly unlikely probably to express, okay, compared to the counterparts, women. Because women, we talk more, so we are able to share what we are going through, okay, what we are grappling with. Yeah, so it actually depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about matters mental health, we have like 5 months in a year dedicated to just celebrate mental health. That is May, June for men specifically, and Movember. That is November. I hope you know what Movember is, where you just grow your mustache, of course, to celebrate prostate and testicular cancer, mental health as well, and suicide prevention month. We have September and we have October. 5 months in a year. And we're still talking about men not being able to open up, and of course, the stigma that surrounds it. You're talking about women are more privileged in terms of just opening up.
Yeah.
So if we have these 5 months dedicated to celebrate men's mental health, or just mental health in general, then why are we still in a place where men are not opening up and it's still a struggle for them?
Like I said, okay, there's increase in public public mental health awareness. There's actually, like before, that was not the case, but right now we are seeing there are more and more campaigns, awareness to that. But like I said before, the reason as to why probably men are not still opening up. I'm not saying that this is not cast on stone. There are those that are opening up. But the factors that are contributing to men not easily opening up, these are the cultural factors, like I had mentioned before. Cultural factors. So we've had statements like men ought not to cry, men should not cry, men should not express fear, okay? Men should, they have given, there's a lot of pressure on men to be dominant, okay, in the society. They are the breadwinners, they are the protectors. So if you're a protector, you do not even have time to think about yourself, neither to think about others, okay? Because that is how the society has shaped us. So there's this terminology called the toxic masculinity. You've heard of toxic masculinity. So this has been enforced in our men, such that for a man to be manly, you should not, like express, or you should not talk about your issues, especially to other people, because that is considered as a weakness, okay? As a man, when you express, or rather you display any mental challenges, that in itself goes against, or rather it contradicts the traditional masculinity roles. So men, in a way, what they do, that has been shaped by the society, okay? So we are not even here to blame them, because that is how they have been raised up, okay, even time immemorial. So what men actually do, they have that, and they have that element in them, so that they're not even able to speak out. However, like I said, this is not the case. We are seeing more and more men also coming out because of this public awareness, public literacy. Yeah. Okay, they are coming out now. But like I said, it's the cultural factors that are actually shaping that.
All right.
Yeah.
Brian, now to the question of the day. We are asking men, why don't you speak up? And I'll start with you, that question.
Of course, having raised the question, it means it's in the public domain that actually men don't speak up. When something is brought maybe as a discussion, it's like it's common. People have had that as an issue outside, and it's now bringing a concern. So reasons why I will also say that why men don't speak up. There are various reasons, of course. Maybe given a chance, I could state a number of reasons. But one of the major reasons that I've seen, of course, I've also experienced, is the fact that the society has made men to believe that they're strong people, and when this is now believed in the society, so it's going to be hard for someone to literally open up, because if it's in the image, when somebody like maybe victimizes you to be a strong person, even in the cases where you feel down, you'll have that fear of opening up, because you'll be experiencing, of course, opening up to you will be like you're showing your weakness. So you find men literally dying slowly. They don't want to show up. They want to show what's going on in between them. So reasons can be there as many as possible, but I think one of the major reasons that can also be checked on is what the society has perceived on men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see that changing if we keep on talking about society in this century? It's a generation where we see people are woke now. So are we still relying on what society thinks about men, or how are you intending to break from that cycle?
Yeah, of course, change is always there, however much slow it can be. But if you check on the current status on how people have tried to kill that, of course, I can say is a menace of men not opening up, I see change, because one of the changes is where there are open spaces for men nowadays, right? Where they can open up. If you are somebody who is free on the media, people have the podcast, right? I don't think about the toxic masculinity, because if you are common on X, the people talk about masculinity over and over. It's an open space where at least even if you're not physical, but there's an open discussion where men can show up and speak wherever you are. You can listen to a podcast, you can debate, So that brings a change, of course, because however much something is happening, but we see a change because we have the spaces for men. Literally, when the spaces are there, there's going to be a change on that. People will be opening up slowly. With the time we find it's something that people are going to handle. So I see a change in it.
All right.
Yeah.
Lesho, why don't men speak up? And I'm assuming maybe you do. So you can start from there. If you do speak up, and if you don't, then why not?
Okay, thank you. And personally, I would like, or I often speak up in case there's necessity. But basically, basing my argument on the question that you have asked, why don't men speak up? It is simply because men don't speak up because they fear to be judged, they fear to be misunderstood, and also there is that fear of vulnerability. For instance, men fear to be misunderstood simply because they don't want to express their emotions, because when they express their emotion, it is like it is a simple, or rather you are showing how weak you are as a gentleman. And we come from a society whereby men are regarded as the pillars of strength, men are regarded as the providers, men are regarded as the protectors. In this scenario whereby men should be expected to speak and then they speak up, it would show quite a simple weakness. It shows how vulnerable they are. And this is how men fear to speak up. But but when we try to figure out, it is good for men to debunk to debunk ideas like these ideas like men should not cry, simply because this is an analogy that actually portrays that how men are believed not to speak up. But basically, it is not what should be done. And when we speak of the fear of vulnerability, I've spoke about the emotional honesty. Men don't speak up because of the emotional honesty. When men speak up, when men speak up, it seems that they are showing that they are weak enough. How will society portray them if they speak regarding how weak they are, not even how weak they are, if they speak about what they are going through as men. In this regard, it is quite difficult for men to speak up yet. However, we are trying to figure out that when we enhance such groups such as peer groups, this will enhance men to speak up. And also when we bring the male role models on board, so that they also speak up so that men are used to these things that other people are speaking about, so that they don't hide their emotions, they speak up also, and it will enhance now this, it will erase this idea that men don't speak up. Otherwise, we will speak up when things get right to the track. Thank you.
So are you waiting until it gets tough so that you can speak up? You're bottling up emotions.
Already it is tough. Already it is tough. It's getting hotter. It is a matter of it's a matter of composing ourselves as men. We are trying to get into those peer groups. We are trying to get attached to the male role models who are going through these challenges of stress, depression, all sorts of things, so that we also, those men who don't speak up, should also speak up. And at some point, it is also good that we have our counterparts from the other side. Also, ladies help us to debunk these ideas that men don't cry up, men should not speak up. They help us to speak up and to express our emotions. Okay,
so men don't cry mostly. That statement inatoka kwetu as women. We'll be coming back to that. But Redemptor, we'll be coming back with you this question, because statistics show that, you know, a lot of most men commit suicide as compared to women. Women just think about it, but now men go ahead and actualize it, commit suicide. Is it because of what Lesho is talking about? They fear vulnerability, bottling up emotions. We're coming back with that, of course. Stay with us. We're talking about men. Why don't men speak up? And that is the question you're also asking on social media, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. When we get back, be ready to call in studio and engage with us. Stay with us.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why. You and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upward, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just a...
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe. The conversation you're having this morning is, why don't men speak up? It's also the question of the day on our social media platforms. We'll be glad to hear your comment even as you take part in this conversation. And of course, we are opening up our lines so that you can be able to call in and of course engage and ask questions from our psychologists who are also here in studio with us. But Redemptor, before we went on that very short break, we were talking about the rate of suicide cases among men, which is no doubt increasing. Is this because they are bottling up things, or why is it actually so prevalent among men? Because they say women, we just think about it, but we open up and don't actualize it. So what is the problem with the men?
Okay, that's correct, actually. Research shows that men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women. And these can be attributed to what we've just discussed today, men bottling up their emotions, not able to express their emotion. Again, another reason why probably there's an increase in that, it's because men delay even to seek help. You know, so they take time, they're reluctant to go and seek help. So the symptoms they experience become worse to the point that probably there isn't much that can be done. And there are those that sort to using substance use, alcohol, and there are those that when it becomes too overwhelming, then they end up committing suicide, okay? So again, we notice that men trivialize their symptoms. These symptoms could be coming up, but because the society has dictated that they should not show a sign of weakness, they should not express, so they trivialize these symptoms, okay? And you find that the symptoms, they're exacerbated, they become worse, and they end up now taking such measures like committing suicide. Even though overall the prevalence of mental health in men is slightly lower compared to women, but it's that what you've said, when it comes to suicide and depression, men, they tend to die by suicide more than women. And why they die by suicide, statistics have also shown that men use lethal means when they actually want to commit suicide. As for women, we are more subtle in terms of how we would like to, deal with our issues, for example, depression. But a man would think of a way that is so lethal that once they act on it, and then that is it. Okay, that's what's that. And that again, like I've said, it is the society that has put pressure on them that you should not show up this. You are strong. Everybody is depending on you. Okay, you should stay put. So that is the society. Again, I just want to bring this up. Besides the social cultural factors, we also have biological factors that actually contribute. So this behavior of men not willing to seek help is also determined by biological factors, but it's a complex interplay, okay, between social, cultural, and biological. So there's this hormone called testosterone, okay, it's a male hormone actually. So this male is associated with dominance and independence. So when a man is independent, when a man is self-reliant, okay, now you understand that reduces their help-seeking behavior, okay, and in terms of their brain, how there are certain parts of the brain, for men, they actually process emotions differently. Okay, so when you put these factors together, the biological and social-cultural, that helps us to understand why for men they have that reduced help-seeking ability and why they bottle up emotions and they end up probably using other means like suicide to deal with their emotional pain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Gladstone is just here on time. We were still going around asking why men don't speak up. And Elaton, question of the day, why don't men speak up? Assuming that you do. If you do, then why don't men speak up?
Personally, of late, I've learned to speak up after knowing the consequences of not speaking up. The reason that might have been said, but I just want to add on something, is for the cultural conditioning, whereby someone is growing up seeing people not speaking up, the elders, especially men. Maybe you are a child, you are a boy. Maybe when I was young, I might have been seeing my dad not speaking up. So I grew up knowing that as a man, I should not be talking anyhowly, no matter the situation. I remember when we were young, tuseme ukatwe na wembe, kama we ni mwanaume, unaambiwa nyamaza, we ni mwanaume nini nini, lakini msichana ataambiwa pole, utakuwa sawa, aoshewe nini nini. So you find that you are learning to be not to just to remain silent no matter the situation. Maybe for my case, I can share a little bit of my story. I lost my dad way back in 2015 when I was around 15 years. 2015, I was 15 years. So, ukijaribu kulia, ile unafeel kabisa uchungu, unapata relatives, they're telling you, be silent. If you are crying, how about your sisters? Vumilia, we ni mwanaume. Unaona? So, nika grow up knowing that I'm a man, I should not be crying, I should remain silent. So unapata that thing remains in you until now, whereby you just know that as a man, there are some things you just have to remain silent. Yeah, so...
You said due to the consequences that you've experienced yourself, now you are open to speaking up more. Maybe what are the consequences that, came up with not speaking up about your mental health? Stress.
At times, you find that speaking up makes you feel that like there is something that it has come out from you.
Kiwaru imekwama hapo kwa chest when you're not speaking up.
Yeah, so ukisha learn that ukinyamazia kitu inakusumbua na ukiongea inakutoka, unasema hiyo kitu inakutoka. Ukisha learn utakuwa unasema tu, you'll be talking anytime. Yeah.
All right. Felix, why don't men speak up?
I think, to my case, I can say men don't speak due to two reasons. First is most men have poor emotional literacy. Unapata, they are fearing to express they don't know how to express their emotions. They don't know how they have that pain, but to express it, it's very hard. So you find them, they keep on with that challenge. So hawezi sema. Another thing is socially economic, has been said by my friends. As we grew up, this is from the jamii ya Kalenjin. We have that culture that when mwanaume hakuna kusema challenge, any challenge. So wewe unakufa kimwanaume. Another thing is there is myths that when you open up, you are vulnerable. So they equate the vulnerability to the one who would speak. Another thing is economic issues. You find that men, if you are ukiwa chini kipesa, huwezi open up. Kwa sababu uki open up, unasema siwezi pata solutions. Kwa sababu we do say solutions come with money. Kama ukiwa na pesa, unapata solutions haraka.
Yes.
Alafu pia men,
you and me both.
Yes. Alafu pia men, they fear because they have no trusted spaces. Hakuna space ya kuongea.
Redenta, is it true that men don't have space, to talk about their issues? If at all we have, tall lines to just accommodate everyone, does it mean that it accommodates more women than it accommodates men? Because if he says that men don't have that space and avenue to express themselves, and also they don't know how to say how they feel, then are we only talking about women having the space to talk and men not having that avenue to express themselves?
Actually, I'm of a different opinion. With the advancement of the mental health care services, it's actually out there. And we are seeing that more women are actually seeking these services, but men, they are reluctant to do so. And why is that? These are attributed to the fact that, for a man to sit down with probably another person, it could be a lady or another person, and engage them and share their issues, they find it very uncomfortable. That space of like me facing you directly, they find it very uncomfortable. So there are other ways that actually can be used to enable them to speak up their issues. And these would include like, men love, like activities. So you find them, they speak more when they're engaging in activities like sporting, like canoeing, or when they're with other men and they're engaging in certain activities, okay? So it's at that point or in that space that they freely speak. But now coming into space, like he's saying that, like they're seeing a therapist, sometimes they find it uncomfortable. Yeah, so that is how men perceive that kind of space. It means I'm vulnerable. It's like I am now naked before this person, I'm sharing all these. But when they're engaging in other activities, they find it easier. We see that in the olden days, like you have an elderly person taking up, younger people, and they're probably doing an activity, and he's actually mentoring them and coaching them, in that kind of space, it's easier for them now to speak out.
He talked about they don't know how to say how they're feeling. Then now when somebody wants to come to you now as a psychologist, they don't know what they're feeling, but they're feeling like they're not okay. Then how do they start with that conversation?
Okay, like I said, they express their emotions differently. Okay, that doesn't mean that probably they do not have words to express how they are feeling. But they are being hindered by, I'm going to be vulnerable to this person.
This is a sick person,
Yeah.
I'm going to the hospital.
Yeah.
But I don't know what is wrong with me. I really, really want to tell you that, lately I've been feeling so down, but I don't know what I'm feeling. I would love to assume that is what you meant, Felix. But now how do you go to the psychologist and say, how do you start that conversation in that psychologist for them now to get help? That is the problem that he has.
Okay, so by the time someone is actually getting to see a psychologist, they've actually made up their mind, or they've actually hit rock bottom and they're really in need of help. So once they get there, the psychologist now provides a safe environment for them, and this is also accompanied by confidentiality. So when this the confidentiality aspect is spoken to, to the client, and then there's that space environment for them, a trusting environment. So in the initial stages, there's that building rapport. Even before they start speaking out, there has to be an alliance, like a therapeutic alliance created between you and the person that is coming to see you. So that has to be established. If the rapport is not established, then the person will not really develop that trust and be able to share anything with you. So on our part as a psychologist, I need to ensure that there's that rapport building, and that can take, it actually varies. There are those that it's quicker, and for others it takes time.
Yeah.
So once the rapport has been established, then the person feels safe to actually share, then it's at that point now they can start sharing.
All right. Bildad, why is it so hard for men to speak up?
I think there's this stigma that comes along with it, fear of judgment, and there's this vulnerability. And men don't like to be vulnerable. For one, you can weaponize that vulnerability against me. And there's this constant pressure that men usually have. There's the society, you should be like this, toughen it up like a man. And then there's this other side, you need to speak up. So I think we should build a society where it is okay to be silent.
It's okay to be silent?
Yeah.
It's okay to be silent?
We should have a society where it's okay to be silent. I see you, I feel your pain, I understand you. Then one will be able to open up finally and talk about how you're feeling. Yeah.
But Bildad, that is what we're trying to break, that silence, you know, because if you're silent now, you're building up that emotions, and then inakuja point unafika unabust. So if we normalize the it's okay to be silent culture, does it? Don't you think that it will now escalate the issues of mental health issues in the country, which is already a burden?
You know, like the pressure won't work. We've already been pressurized to be silent. Now you're pressuring us to talk. We should redefine mental health as maybe mental fitness. The way you go to the gym every day, you work out, you should also work on your mental health. It should be a day-to-day journey activity. Mental health is usually seen as, when you go to therapy, you're usually seen as you're not okay, maybe you are sick. And it comes along with stigma. It bruises one's ego. You're like, for you to be at that stage where you say, like, I'm sick, it's not easy. So you should see it as mental fitness.
All right. Daktari, anasema the pressure won't work.
Wow.
Is it true?
Okay, so there's a group of probably men population that they would still hold on, you know, like hold on to the issue of, you know, masculinity. I actually have to display this masculinity. So when you bring up the aspect of them expressing that, it just goes against that. It contradicts what they have actually known. And probably, like he says, they would prefer to be silent. However, now we are coming up with other interventions that can still protect their vulnerability and promote them talking, but still protect their vulnerability. So there are other interventions that are coming up that would cater for that group of people that are still holding on to that masculinity. Like I said, you know, it's a work in progress, and everybody would not have the same impact. There are those that they would be slow to embrace this, but all in all, I believe that we are somewhere, though we are not yet there, but we are somewhere. Yeah.
So what do you think about what he's saying, that we should normalize a silent culture? Is that safe at all for the mental health, you know, situation of, you know, somebody, mental well-being?
Well, let me just react to his understanding of mental health, okay? So actually, mental health is not really the absence of you, the absence of merely, or rather health is not the absence of a disease, okay? So what mental health here means, the panels mentioned, is a state of well-being. And when you have a when you're mentally healthy, it means you're actually able to cope with the normal stresses. You know, these normal stresses that we all have, do you have that ability to cope with them? Most of us do, actually. We have that resilience in us. We're able to do that. Are you able to be productive in the society? You know, that also explains what mental health is. Are you able to realize your abilities? So it's not merely the absence of disease. Like he put it in a manner to say that anyone going to see a therapist actually sick. Most people go to see a therapist not because they're actually sick. Some actually go there just to be empowered, you understand? Yeah? Not merely that they are sick. And this narrative of let's maintain the silent culture, we have seen even from decades ago that this narrative of men being silent is actually affecting them mentally. And even statistics are that is supported by statistics, where you see men are dying more by suicide, you know, depression and all that. So we need to change that, and how can we do it for, you know, him who wants to build that, like, you know, there's pressure now to talk when before there was pressure to be silent, and then now we're asking them to talk. Build that, you know, it all starts with probably with the attitude, you know, and your perception. And maybe that could also be stemming from stigma. You know, you're ashamed. You know, there's that stigma that has been brought up by society. When I speak, you know, I'll be disapproved. There's that disapproval from the society. So that's stigma, but it's a gradual thing. So it starts with someone just changing their attitude, you know. And it's not like men are not, they don't have emotion. They actually have emotion. They're human beings. We're all human beings, yeah? We have emotions. So maybe if you could just take gradual steps in learning how to talk, you know, just express. But this, you do it to someone, to a person that you trust, so that you don't feel judged.
All right. Skuli, why do men speak up?
Well, it is not that men can't talk. We can speak. But where do we come from? Let me take you back to where we come from. We come from a society where vulnerability or men opening up is often mistaken as weakness. Well, there is this perspective that comes that boys will be fine, men will be fine, that it is the one that actually brings this silence. Because the society in its own delusional states taught us that men should not speak up. Majority of us have told us here. The society itself claims that men should not speak. We actually fear that it is not that we don't have someone to talk to, but we fear, in as much as we try to make this person understand us, how well will the person understand us? Obviously, she can't understand us. The person will just put herself or himself in our shoes and try to understand us, but he will actually try to advise us what we don't want to hear. So we actually...
So you want to be told what you want to hear?
Yeah, just tell us the bitter truth. My friend here just told us...
So if you want to cut your hand, somebody should just support you, cut your hand. What do you mean?
My friend just told us silence. Well, I'll second that. Actually, my own self, I keep quiet. I go on a silence treatment, then I'll speak up later.
That is emotional, mental torture. Is it, Dr. So you see, you're torturing yourself and you're torturing the people closer to you. Mental abuse, that's the word. Skuli.
No, I don't feel it that way.
You don't see it that way?
Because when I open up, I've seen by experience that when we talk, it is actually mistaken as we are weak. Well, I'm a crybaby. That's the word.
People tell you you're a crybaby.
Yeah.
So the problem is who to open up to.
Yes.
And not opening up exactly.
Yeah.
Daktari.
Yeah.
Then who should they open up to? As much as they're talking about trusted friends, it looks like they don't have trusted friends. So if those cannot be trusted, then who do they now open up to?
Wow, who do they open up to? Just like anybody else, when it comes to sharing, even for us women, you know, we just don't open up to anybody. There's that person that probably you look up to, or somebody that you can really trust. And this can be in the family setup, it can be amongst your friends, or it can even be a professional. Okay, so it's upon an individual to identify, you know, like who can they really, you know, share their problems with if they have that fear of being judged. I know it's an issue, like, you know, if I share my issues, I'm not sure whether they will remain, you know, between these four walls, or I'm going to hear them from, you know, someone else. So I understand that trust issue, you know, the trust issue is actually is really there. There's this experiment that was done a while back whereby the black men, you know, that is in the States, you know, there was this experiment, it's called a task experiment, that men were actually deceived that they were being treated, but in actual sense they were being injected with the syphilis virus. So from that point now, men develop mistrust, even consulting, going to professionals to consult because of that mistrust. Okay, so you get it. So that I'm not trusting you. What I mean, like you're asking yourself. So I'm not really sure if I'll get any help if I talk to you because of that trust. So we need to start working on the trust issues of an individual for them to slowly and gradually develop trust so that they can get help.
Right.
Yeah.
Gladstone, why don't men speak up? You are so excited about this conversation. So why don't you guys speak up?
First, good morning. And I want us to look at this thing first before we talk about why men don't talk up. We actually speak, but it's just that no one wants to listen. So this is the thing. Look at this. We have 4 issues. One, we have, according to latest statistics, it says that women are likely to go through depression and anxiety at a rate of 2 times, 2 or 3 times, up to 4 times more likely than men. 2, women attempt many suicides, but men are the ones who are likely to be successful in them. Then 4, when it comes to substance abuse, men are actually doubling it. According to 12%, lakini wasichana wako close to 4.7%. So what does that tell us? Inatuambia kitu moja ya kwamba men are actually speaking, but through actions. But we just want men to be behaving like women, whereby now we are speaking more. And when it comes to speaking more, look at how we are being brought up. Because a lot of us are about environmental factors, maybe societal stigma and stuff. But look at this way. For example, when a girl is 13 years old, or maybe at 12, at 10, the mother already ameanza kumold, anaanza kumwambia, by the way, there's a time that itafika, you start going through the menses. Anaambiwa mapema. So huyu msichana, when that thing happens, anakuja anambia, by the mom, nimefanya 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Anakuwa na ile reference point. But for a man, what happens to men? Men wakati, when men grow up, kitu ya kwanza ni they have a father, and this father huanga speak up on anything. Akiwa na issue, wanaingia huko kwa kitanda. They speak from there. When things are not okay, maybe the man himself feel poor, ana confine in the wife. Sindio? Then sasa this man anakosa a reference point. Kila time akika hivi, when problems come, yeye anasemanga, babangu mimi sijawahi muona akilia, sijawahi na babangu akicomplain, sijawahi ona anything. So it means that mimi nikilia, I'm not a man. There is something wrong with me because sijawahi ona. But also in the same vein, unapata kuna hizo societal expectations ya kwamba as a man you need to toughen up and fight your own battles. One of huyu rafiki yangu ameongelea kuhusu the death of the father, which also happened to me a year ago. And one of the things yenye kila mtu alikuwa, one of all the mourners who came, walikuwa wananiambia, angalia sister zako, look at your mom. Each and every person analia and a break down. Sasa nyinyi wote mki break down, nani atasaidia wengine? So you need to toughen up, you need to be a man, so that our wasichana wenyu na mama yako, you give them that support. So what are you teaching this man? Inaonyesha kwamba what you're doing is wrong. You should not even be mourning your dad. You need to be strong. You see? So when you give these things to a mtoto akiwa, the more ana grow up, ana grow na hizi vitu, then you want to come and start changing them wakisha kuwa wazee. You are missing the mark. You will work so hard to change this, but because you already iko engraved into their way of doing things. Apart from the hormonal things yenye alizaliwa nazo, hii pia ni kitu ishakuwa cultivated, imegrow roots, ishakuwa a very big plant yenye sasa wewe kuitoa utakata leaves inakaa kama weeds. The more unakata, the more zinakuja. Unakata inakuja. So what we need to do, okay, so what we men decide to do ni, that's ukiona suicidal rates kwa women iko high but successful iko kwa men, na use of drugs ni mingi. What do we do? Now when we have these issues, tunasema we're not going to tell anyone. Kama mtaona muone, kama mtaona msione. But what we are going to do ni, we are going to get into drugs. Tutakunywa pombe, ama tuvute bangi, or whatever we will use as our coping mechanisms to all these things. Mtu anasema wacha nisahau, nikunywe nisahau. So anakunywa, unapata sasa inakuwa nini? Inakuwa a habit whereby now anakunywa tu daily to just at least get that stability. Anakuambia kwamba mimi nikikunywa pombe nakuwa poa. I'm okay enough, I forget my problems, I feel okay. Ama nikiwa around my drunkards.
But until when? Until when?
That's the problem. But now the thing is, they cannot speak because they have not been taught to do that. So how they look at now, how can we cope? Instead of speaking up, they now look for coping mechanisms. Now, because also they don't have information on how to tackle mental health issues, they will now pick any habit in your quota on the way. Okay? You are being told that if you don't have information in your system, you will pick any information that you find around. So our kiambiwa kunywa pombe utasahau. Ata take that. Maybe take vuta bangi, maybe roll mbili, akili itachangamuka, uta feel high, you will forget your problems. Ata do that. Take cocaine, take heroin, or do something crazy, because men always have these risky behaviors. Unaambiwa kwamba now have many girlfriends, maybe have a lot of intercourses and feel good. Just look at things from this angle here. Find pleasure even in pain. Try to find pleasure even in pain. And all this is what tunafanya. So mtu tapata kwamba it is very hard for them to speak out. Lastly, during my most of the times nafanyanga mental health campaigns, wanaume watakwambia mimi nataka kuongea. Lakini watu naongelesha, they are not understanding me. Unaona? Mimi nakwambia, by the way, I'm going through depression. Okay, I feel like kuna kitu nanisumbua. Then unamexplainia situations, atakwambia vitu mbili. One atakwambia wewe sasa, okay, wanatakwambia wewe unaongelea hizi vitu, watu wenye ni wako na shida, wako madhari, hawako hapa. So inamaanisha wewe uko sawa, wewe si mwenda wazimu, uko poa. Unaona? Then two, huyo mtu mwenye unamuongelesha anakuambia we, sasa utadu. Unaona? Sasa yeye pia ajui what to do. Sasa mko watu wawili wenye you don't even understanding each other. So unapata kwamba in such scenario unafind kama huyu anielewi na mimi mwenyewe sijielewi. Sasa nani mwingine atanielewa? So when you start asking yourself those questions, unapata kwamba now the bad coping mechanisms na cap in, and the man now decides to be silent. Let me fight my issues. Sasa inafika mara mwisho unapata sasa hapo kwa successful attempts, successful suicides, unapata men wako high ni ile sasa umeuliza until when, unapata sasa mwanaume anasema nimekunywa pombe enough, nimevuta bangi enough, nimefanya everything that I can enough, but this thing is not going away. So what do? I think my time is up. So now wanaume when they decide to do suicide, they don't attempt, they do it. No, wajua msichana anaweza jaribu, hapana ngoja. Maybe something happens, but for a man, anaenda for something that I'm very, very sure this will work. 100% anajua hii nikimeza hii ama kama nikamba ndafanya it will work. So that's when unapata successful attempts when it comes to men ziko higher than girls, because when we reach the brim of it, suicide inaingia ndani na we.
All right. Once again, I would like to invite you, if you're watching from home, to be part of this conversation. Colin, there is a number on your screen. We'll be happy to hear from you, to hear your contribution on our social media platforms as well, at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE. But Daktari, Gladstone is talking about people don't understand. So does it mean that there's no much awareness around mental health in the country? And of course, in line with this year's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is turn awareness into action. Do you see us getting to that point where now we're not just talking about it here in the rooms, but there's actually, action into it? Like, we talk much about it, men are protected, the women are protected, everyone feels safe. So are you seeing us getting to that point where we turn awareness into action?
Yeah, we're actually headed there. We're seeing a lot of awareness in the communities, in schools, We don't necessarily have to wait for these specific days to observe them, but mental health nowadays is, it's like freely spoken about, and children from a younger age, they're also educated on these matters. And in terms of like changing these traditional masculinity norms, I actually agree with what he says. When a man has been brought up in such a an environment, already it is embedded in them, okay? So even just probably like trying to learn a new thing might take time. So probably what we need to be advocating for is even for parents, at a younger age now, they should start teaching, like the boy child, that it is okay, to say that you're not okay, okay? It is okay for you to cry. It doesn't mean that, like now we are debunking, the myths that are associated with, this stigma with men and mental health. So we need to start from, those formative years of children and just allowing them to be men. So in other words, we need to start redefining what manhood is again, manhood. So that needs to be redefined again, so that now as men grow up, now they feel very comfortable, they feel they can be able to share without being judged. There's no societal stigma, around it. And then now we're gonna see, less and less of these mental health issues, and probably suicide, increase in suicide among men is gonna go down. Yeah, so these campaigns are there more and more, and we are hoping to, like translate them into, action. Yeah. So it's actually upon us. It actually starts with me and you and everyone here. Let's talk about it. Let's not shy away from saying it. If you feel that your emotions are not okay, share it. And if you're not sure who to share it with, there are so many professionals out there. Counselors, therapists that you can actually go to and share your issues with them. One thing about men, naturally they are problem fixers. So when they go into, with a problem, they actually like want immediate fix. Then. So when they say that we don't feel understood, it's because probably at that point they did not get a quick fix then. Yeah. So maybe they need now to accommodate the patience and aspect of introspection, and just learning themselves, you get, so that it's not about being understood. Of course, I will not understand, but I can only imagine what you're going through, but I might not understand like the pain, we all experience pain differently, but the issue is just imagining and helping you through process that pain that you're going through, So they need to come to transition from problem fixing, like it has to be now and today. Let me get the solution today, and allowing to go through the process.
All right, Brian, do you feel like enough awareness has been created around mental health, just to allow you men to be, open about it when you're watching football, mkopali, when you're taking your beer? Do you feel like enough awareness has been created for you as men?
I will not really say there's much awareness that have been created, of course, because we still experience cases of suicides from men. We still experience cases of victimization, as Dr. has stated. We still experience a lot of things, of course, that still men undergo. So in terms of awareness, there will be change, of course, but I don't feel it's enough. Yeah, but of course, when you see change, sometimes change doesn't come instantly, right? Maybe it's slow, but itafika time will be like much better than before. But I feel there's something being done. That is why you see even the doctor there, maybe she decided to choose that as a career because she felt there's a gap. When she's there, maybe she's doing more education to people, even through these spaces, that are there. We feel there's change that is happening, however much maybe we haven't felt much impact on it.
So what would you want changed? Because you're talking about 5 months in a year. May, June, October, September, and November, 5 months. So how would you want these conversations to look like in terms of just creating awareness around mental health? For you to feel like, now we're talking, hapa sasa mental health is something that is actually being talked about na inasaidia sasa.
What I would really want to be done, of course, I would just want men maybe to do what they are doing. Of course, if you're in the internet, you see, mostly on X, because I'm so popular on X actually. If you see what men are doing on X, however much there's victimization from people who maybe put it as toxic masculinity, but they found that as a platform of speaking. If you check on the common one, of course, the Masculinity Saturday, right? Where people speak about men open up through tweets, you see? If they do it over and over, at least they even find a motivation. They feel, oh, there's this gathering that is always here on Saturdays where people speak. So I think men should just continue what they're doing, even if it's in podcasts. I've seen a number of podcasts, of course, that people listen to. That brings a chance to for men to speak up. Because literally, you know, one of the things that is happening in Kenya, of course, even across the world, is about domestic violence. But you know, when people listen about domestic violence, they always see it as women to be the victims alone. But you know, in domestic violence, it cuts across children, men and women. But you tell me, if you've had a case where a man reports to a police station that he has been beaten by a woman, he is going to fear being ridiculed, right? He's going to be there's going to be a rejection from the officers there. They'll be like, hii ni kesi gani hapa? Tumepigwa na bibi, you know? There's a rejection that comes from even the station itself, and it's going to generate to being ridiculed. Or even people will even fear associating with you, be like, hey, bana, unatembea na yule jamaa anapigwa na bibi, you know? That comes from everything. But for me, I always feel that however much the topic of discussion can revolve around many factors, minor factors, but the bigger one, I think, is the society. Yeah, because the society has conditioned men to behave in some way. However much it is worse, they feel that's the manual, that's the path. You should be strong, you should not cry, you should not even report to a police when you're beaten, domestic violence, you know. So that revolves around that. Yeah.
All right. Lesho, you brought up the aspect of vulnerability, but what does vulnerability look like for a man?
Vulnerability is wrongly equated to failure when it comes to men. Men portray vulnerability as a failure. Once you portray vulnerability in a society that depicts that men are the pillars of strength, men are the providers, men are the protectors, it will portray a sort of weakness, and therefore men will opt not to speak up. Also, when it comes to this, we should redefine masculinity for men to enhance their honesty, for them to speak up about the emotions they are going through. And it is not 100% that men don't speak up. We also speak up in silence, the other men that we speak up to. And when it comes to trust issues, as mentioned earlier on by my fellow colleague, it is that we speak to those we are absolutely sure that whenever we speak to them, they are not going to speak about our emotions. They are not going to speculate at whichever instance. So when we try to speak to whoever, we believe that when I speak to this guy, huenda asiseme kwa wengine ya kwamba huyu jamaa anapitia mengi ama kuna haya ya kupitia. So it is a matter of who do we trust and who do we speak to. And when it comes to, when I reflected to this phrase that it is always not good to make decision when you are, to make hasty decision when you are hungry. And therefore it is always considerate for men that you make decisions in silence. You wait the situation to calm so that you make decision. You approach fellow men before you bring it on a limelight. You approach your fellow colleague, your gentleman, you ask him, hapa tufanya aje, haya tufanya aje, should I bring it? So when the pain gets a fear that it is beyond your friends, it is beyond your friends' ability to resolve it on your behalf, that is when you opt to take it to the limelight. At whichever cost, it always results to penalties or rather the cost of silence. That is when you see that we are battling with too much stress, we are battling with depression. That is where suicide chips in. That is where we find that life now, it is too much. Hata ukisema aje haiwezi kutoka. That is when you opt now to get yourself out of this side. So that is basically what happens.
All right. But Elaton, what happened to bro code, you know, bros for bros? Because, you know, women, sisi itatutoka, of course, because we yap a lot. But what happens to the bro code, bros for bros? If you open up to your fellow bro, you're talking about fear of judgment. How is he judging you, yet you have this code, bro code? Is that code broken? Ama, what is the problem?
Bro code is there. But now, one thing I know or I've seen in men is that they are poor in communicating such things. They can do other things, they can wanaweza piga stories zingine, lakini when it comes to that, ukijaribu kusema wanakuambia we ni mwanaume bana. Sasa hii tulia, hii vitu itaisha. So you find that you will fear telling them again. So
hold your microphone well. Yes, closer to your mouth.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that men should learn to talk to each other concerning mental health. Elewa mwanaume mwenzako, akikwambia kitu msikize. Kama bro. Mademo wanajiambia, unasikia wanaitana, babe niko na stress. Lakini mwanaume anakuambia wewe ni mwanaume bana. Wewe hizi vitu itaisha. So inaweza kosa kuisha, itaenda inakusumbua, na unaona sasa juu umejaribu kushia na mwanaume mwenzako hajakusaidia, so you end up being silent. One thing I can say is that the awareness should be created in society first before coming to men. Because hata wanaume wabadilishwe, waongeleshwe, wa open up, and still society wanaona ni hawaelewi, still it is useless. So society should be taught how to understand men. After that, when it comes to men now, we are ready to change. Yeah.
You're ready to change. You just need society
very ready, because we know the consequences. Yeah.
All right. But even as he's talking about society, do we have in counties, particularly in hardship areas, for instance, where they can easily seek mental health services? Are they there in those hardship areas? To say many places, kama Turkana, Lodwar. Do we have, hospitals, avenues for men to seek help?
I believe they should be there, because now when you get down to the community, the elders in the community, or like the just a certain group of people in the community that are educated on mental health. So those are some of the platforms that people in the remote can actually utilize to get help when it comes to mental health. And again, I believe, like I said, there's actually advancement of mental health care services, but I think there is need for these services to be taken to the rural community, because we see there is actually scarcity of that. But then, help didn't just start today. In the past, there has been, avenues for help, in the rural setups. So when it comes to rural setups, people trust, churches or church leaders or spiritual healers more when it comes to seeking mental health. That has been helpful. But like I said, now we also need now to, take the mental health services back to the remote areas. Yeah.
All right. Felix, is it that men, you don't understand each other, or why are you not even, open to talking to your fellow men about your mental health?
It depends on the relationship with other men. So you find that you can only open up with a person whom you can relate more than the person. But also, the doctor said that we have got some counselors. So we as men, we feel safe and open. We are open to persons whom we are not used to. Wenye hatujuani, tunaweza ongelesha mashida zetu than mtu mwenye tunajuana. So we find that hata tukienda kwa hospitali, we find that we are going for a far place, ndio ueleze shida zako zote, at least akujui. Another thing is, shida we don't open up. Wanaume, we feel that environment is against us. ever since, we haven't heard of anything called men empowerment. In this country, we don't have anything talking about men empowerment. It's all about women empowerment. I think the system now is against us, and we are not feeling safe that we have someone we can share our challenges to, because everything is against us.
Daktari, is it true we don't have channels to empower men? We only talk about empowering women?
I tend to disagree with
women
that.
are loud. That's why you hear about women empowerment. But I'd love to believe there are avenues.
There are, yeah. In fact, even right now, the boy child has been at the forefront, you know. Now he's become the focus right now, the boy child. So it has not been neglected like before. So when it comes to male empowerment, and one of us spoke about spaces like, you know, Express, this platform like Express, that actually there's a lot of empowerment going on in those spaces. Yeah. So there's a lot of that going on. So we cannot say that there isn't. Yeah. I tend to disagree with that. Yeah.
Felix, when you talk about empowerment, you're saying women are more getting more empowered as compared to the men.
Yes.
How would you like it to look like? You know, empowerment for men. Do you feel, anyway, even as you're included in terms of just this issue of empowerment?
I think there is mostly. There are so many conferences that are being held let's say, for example, our country, are mostly for women. So kama kuna mama mbogas, hakuna papa mbogas, they are being supported everywhere. So unapata sisi ndio tunatafuta.
But the conferences are created by women. Why are men not coming up with these conferences? We have men's conference in February. Felix, uko na mambo yako. Tunakuona sana. Build it. Bros to bros. Is the bro code broken ama shida iko wapi? And do you agree that as men you do not feel empowered and you feel like women are more empowered as compared to men?
I'll start by saying the bro code is there. And men actually speak to other men. But most of the time, okay, I'll talk to you. I have this problem, mostly, let's say, psychological, see something physical, right? Most of the time, I tell you have a problem, you're going to feed me your own delusions about how you see life should be, what you think you should do, your own point of view in your life, you're bringing it into...
Hold your microphone well.
You're trying to relate your experiences to mine. You get? So, in the society already failed me once by telling us to hold it in, you're a man, toughen it out. There's no way I'm going back to the society again. Because already, like, those are double standards. And when I talk, I don't think like, okay, someone said like, you don't get me. And he also said, when he feels down, he normally shuts himself out, silent treatment. And I second him. If that's what you feel like you need to do to recollect yourself, to be yourself again, you need to put yourself first. You don't need to, it's not a must that you talk to somebody. If you feel like the answer is always from within. If you feel like you need to be quiet, you need to maybe take a run, you need to meditate about it. Yeah, you do what you got to do, but don't like pressurize us into talking. That's not the only solution to it.
All right. Gladson, you've sandwiched two men who are championing for silence to be normalized. I don't know what you think about that. Do you agree that that is something that should be normalized, silence? Because you're talking about men not speaking up, and they're saying that now the pressure to, you know, to get men to speak up now should end. What do you think about that? Those two men next to you.
So, okay. Well, one, I can slightly agree with them, but from this perspective of, it is better to remain silent than talk to the wrong person. Because if you are silent, there's a lot that is going to happen. But if you speak and you are speaking to the wrong person, that guy or that lady or that woman or man will mislead you. And instead of making things correct, they'll make them even worse. But now, why are they saying all these things? It's simple. And you have a cup over there, right? TV 47.
Yes.
If I speak to you in Latin on how to wash that cup, you'll understand nothing because you don't know Latin. You know. But nikwambia na Kiswahili, hiyo kikombe shika hivi. I saw a clip whereby someone went to a hotel, then kulikuwa na tea bag, sugar na stuff, na kujua how to go about that. So the man, to save the situation, alibidi aongee in Doluo. I'm explaining in Doluo how to use tea bag, sugar, and how to stir it and everything. And the man understood. So what are we saying here? What we're saying is we are teaching men how to tackle mental health issues in relation to what it is there in the books, but not what is the reality of men. For example, when you're talking about something like depression, we have those too much eating, sleep, okay, not too much eating actually, is you either eat too much or too small, or you sleep too much or too slow, you lose pleasure in good things that you used to enjoy, maybe sadness. And these things ukiangalia mara mingi, to men, sometimes unapata mwingine anakuambia this happened to me naturally, mimi nakulaga sana. Unaona? It's nature to me. Mimi silalangi. Unaona? Mambo ya sadness mimi sijui. You see? Pleasure in good things, mtu ataenda watch mpira, atoe pressure yake ndani, umwambie sasa njaribu kuimagine hizi pleasurable activities ni kama gani. Mimi kwangu when some feel sad, naendanga na watch football. Mani ikipigwa sadness inaongezeka. So mimi na feeling tu vibaya mani ikipigwa. Maybe atakwambia kitu kama hiyo. So unaona? So already kwako wewe unaanza kumwambia the textbook symptoms, yeye akiziangalia kwake haziingiani popote. Then angalia from this angle. Women are likely to speak up, but men are likely to express. For example, from a lady akisikia kitu namsumbua atakuongelesha. For a man anaweza get aggressive. Aanze kukupiga. Kama if he is married, utapata wife akimuuliza kitu simple, yeye ata get violent. Unaona, as a way of coping. So unaona kitu kama ukimwambia, instead of telling them the textbook things, how about we change our way of telling men these things waelewe from what is happening. For example, namwambia if you find yourself being too much aggressive, na wewe mwenyewe ujui aggression inatoka wapi, is a sign of depression. So pia ataanza kuona by the have been mistreating my lady. Inaweza kuwa maybe it is the thing. So umeanza kuongea ile language anaelewa. Ile vitu zenye kwake zinamhapenia na yeye understand. If you find yourself finding too much comfort in alcohol, it means there is a problem here, because mwingine alikuwa ananiambia na mimi by the way nikisha kunywa pombe nafanyanga kazi ya stima in 1 hour nimemaliza job ya mtu anaweza fanya in 5 hours because I'm super active. Sasa mtu kama huyo kimwambia excessive consumption of alcohol ni mbaya, from that angle hivyo, so ni kama unamwambia asifanye kazi. You see? So what is the language that you're going to tell them? Now change the curriculum, uonyeshe kwamba there is an underlying factor, because you should be able to be working without even taking alcohol. You should be productive without. Isikue alcohol now is the stem of you now standing strong and doing things. Also aggression, there is something behind this aggression. So what we should be doing, especially kwa hii awareness in tuna create, tutoke kwa TV, tutoke kwa social media, let us go to the ground. As much as watch TV kwa ya explain what is happening and maybe where it is happening, the awareness is happening, because it will reach a lot of people, social media and stuff. But when it comes to awareness, let us be practical and let us be intentional in what we are doing. Ambia mwanaume, this is what is happening, and we know that kitambo, this is what is used to happen. Na maybe hauna uwezo ya ku maybe kama change immediately because of 1, 2, 3, 4. Take through the process. Mwambie, I know even talking out will be hard because ni kitu hujazoeshwa. But it is something that is possible. There is a time we had a meeting mahali fulani with men. Na this man mmoja wao akajitolea akaongea shida zake about how wife anamsumbua na wife anampiga. Then one of those 4 men wakaanza pia kuongea all of a sudden about the same thing. Na wakasema na baadhi ya mje tuambie the same. Wakasema ni mimi vile hatakuwahi pata mahali pa kuongelea hizi vitu. So vile wewe umeongelea tuko na wait. Kwa nini pia wewe unaendeleanga the same thing? Na mbona tunakutananga hapa tunacheka hivi? Ni because akasema no, it's because no one has ever initiated this topic. So mimi nimeona wacha nione kama niko peke yangu. Then kumbe napata tena 4 of us, kumbe mko na the same. So wala tuko 5. So what do we do? Ikifika hapo kwa what do we do now, they don't know. Wanaanza kujemea, sasa taambia nani hizi vitu na hata tuelewa. You see, so there are gaps that exist when it comes to awareness creation. And we just need to be intentional. Let us stop avoiding it just because we are empowering women, the men will understand, and the men will also catch up. You're catching up, men will remain behind.
So hata wewe unasema women are being more empowered.
No, okay, and let's face it. Sahi, the world is aligning with women. For example, when it comes to matters education, everything that is being more about education, empowering young women. Now, hata mimi mwenyewe I work at Shofco. And pale Shofco, almost 80% of all the programs, they are mentored toward women. And we're not saying it's a bad thing. It's okay because maybe the donor world is there. And also Pia, they are trying to bring men to catch up, women to catch up with men, because culture kitambo ilikuwa msichana akifika 12 years, 13 years anaolewa.
Yes.
You know that? So we understand that part. But also, you don't solve a problem by creating another one. This is what we're trying to do here. Like, let us empower women so that men can try to catch up. No, the thing is, mambo ya equality tuache. Let us fight for equity. Create a resources where women can be women, men can be men, and let men be taught mental health in a language that they understand. Let women also be taught mental health in a language that they understand. From that, itakuwa easier for, if a man behaves in a certain way, a woman can interpret, seme pana, huyu akona shida. If a woman behaves in a certain way, mwanaume anaweza elewa, right? So it becomes a unilateral way of movement. But if we decide to go this route, whereby women understand themselves, but men now wanabaki wakigears what that huyu mwanamke anataka nini, the awareness that we are doing will only help those who are supposed to be helped, but it will not help us curb the situation that we are in. Yeah.
Daktari, there's an issue about gender and empowerment, in regards to mental health issues. And also Gladson has asked a very good question there. What is now the language that should be used to make them understand, what mental health is and how now they can approach it when they're, they're with their colleagues, their friends. Then what language should be used now as a professional?
So that's a powerful point that he's brought up, right? Because when it comes to mental health and these symptoms that he's spoken of, or for example, let me cite depression. We have these classical symptoms of depression that we all run through, and we assume that everybody presents the same way. Yeah. However, research has shown that these symptoms actually are contextualized, as in they vary from context to context, even from gender to gender. So men, when they displaying these symptoms of depression, they actually externalize, like he correctly said, they're aggressive. Yeah. So when you notice anger outbursts, you're noticing they're aggressive. They could be actually going through depression, but for women, they internalize. So they cry a lot, they cry more. So I agree with what he says. Even when we are creating this awareness, we need to speak to them in a language that resonates with their gender. So that they'll be able to identify with actually what is going on with them. And when that happens, it would lead, or rather result, to them now start to seek, or rather consult more health professionals. Yeah, so I agree. We need to contextualize, and actually it's happening. We need to contextualize, and if you're creating this awareness in different communities, again, language. Sometimes language can be a barrier. If you're not able to speak that native language of that community, it can be a barrier for you to create awareness. Yeah. So it's important that you get someone from that community, educate them, and then allow them now to raise awareness in that community and speak to them in the language that they understand, because communities, they tend to trust their own. You as an outsider, when you come in, there are a lot of, but if you train an insider and allow them to do the job, then that would really be helpful.
Now, Daktari, who should take the mantle, to spread the word? If you're talking about it going to the local communities, then whose responsibility is it to ensure that, it gets to the masses?
So the responsibility is actually like the entire nation, but more so it has to start with the professionals, mental health professionals, So this one, it needs to trickle down. So the mental health professionals, they need to start going outside, because most of them are really centered in the urban society, in the urban center. So they need to actually trickle down and go to the communities and educate people. So it's upon the mental health professionals, the counselors, the therapists, the mental health advocates, and anyone that has this information, even like just a layman person whoever has this information, they can still pass it on, you know, to their neighbor. Like let's now promote this culture of talking about it without fear, you know. Like he mentioned, there was this instance where one person spoke out something and all the others could actually relate to that. So when you get to that space where we're able to speak and we're able to share and we're able to educate one another. For example, in schools now we have the peer counselors that are trained. So these peer counselors, they're actually the backbone of the schools. So they're able now to educate other peers. You know, it comes from counselors now, and now the counselors, or rather the therapists now, they also train other, you know, groups of people. The groups of people, you know, it's like, what do you call it? There's, what is it called?
Kamukunjis.
Yeah, yeah, so it starts from here, and then now it, you know, the branches, they're extending now. Yeah, you get it, yeah.
But if you're talking about, you know, taking mental health services to the local communities, and I'm looking at an article here, mental health, you know, funding for mental health is less than 1% of the total health budget. We don't have enough health, you know, workers to just help spread this word. Not all of them are, you know, well conversant with this topic of mental health. You know, psychologists, you are few in the country. So do you see this possible? Because you're talking about funding 1% of the total health budget. Is that really achievable?
Probably in the near future, okay, because mental health is something that has been embraced in the African context just in the, you know, like a few years ago, you know. So it's something that it's growing gradually, and it needs to, you know, the government has to give more attention now to the mental health, you know, services in terms of, you know, having these branches, you know, in the local community, you know. So it has to also consider in terms of finances, like how it can be able to fund these and take out people there to educate, you know, the local communities.
We still have a gap there.
Yeah, there's still actually a gap there. There are very few of them in the rural community. There are few psychologists that actually just take that initiative on their own to go to the roots. And actually do it out of their own, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Skuli, do you agree that women are more empowered as compared to men, and that is why you people are not speaking up? Now women, you know, women are more empowered. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, sure.
If you're talking about 2 months in a, you know, we don't have anything as Women's Mental Health Awareness Month. 2 months dedicated to the men. We have June, we have November. That is November. Actually, hata hiyo June inaitwa Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. What else do you want?
That is just about a number. It is just a number.
It is your month.
Give us platforms, give us empowerment programs, give us projects. Like, kuna project mingi sana za female that we see actually. Very active, but za wanaume hakuna. Well, it is not that hakuna, ni vile, actually it is like we don't have access to. Like, give us the guidelines, give us the access to them, how to actually do them, and maybe it will make sense.
Brian, what will support look like for you as men? We're talking about June and November, but you still see a gap in terms of just, you know, creating awareness around men's mental health. Then what will support look like and sound like?
Of course, if it was something that was not there before, but it has been put maybe aside, it means there's a positive impact. I have to accept that, because if you see actually in any part of something, if you see something being brought into consideration, it means sorry, there was a gap, you know. But I would really appreciate if it's there, because it shows there is some positive impact. You know, something little is better than none. You know, if there would be nothing like that, it would even be worse. So if you have the two, maybe even if it's 2 in a year, I say it's something positive. Yeah.
We have 5, but 2 dedicated to the men. There are 5 months. But Lesho, what will support look like for you as men?
Okay, however much you might have, even if there are 6, even if 6 months are dedicated to men, empowerment in a month, in a year, it's all about execution. How are we going to effect this empowerment? When we fall or when we break down the statistics, we realize that there is a high rate of depression in men as compared to women. Why am I saying this? It is simply because when it comes to empowerment, it is heavily mantled in women. When it comes to men, it is slightly worked on. So when we basically speak of empowerment, women are the beneficiaries of it as compared to men. When I speak of when I speak of the statistics, as I have already mentioned earlier on, men have no platforms to express their ideas, or rather to express themselves. When I try to reflect on the peer groups that are currently working, I do believe they are quite that champions the noble vision of a boy child, that is men, as compared to women. Women have spaces to champion their vision. That is why you see that women have big chances to champion for their empowerment as compared to men. Men still need spaces, but who to effect for them? What are they going to speak on these spaces? That is why I've said that however much months, too much months are dedicated to them, and there is no good effect on this. We are going to slide behind, because who should run this program?
Sure, whose responsibility should it be? Because if you're talking about women getting spaces, these spaces have been created by women themselves. Then whose responsibility should it be to ensure that you as men also, you are taking up space and there's empowerment kamkunjis that exist for you?
Okay, daktari has already highlighted that there are health officers pale kwa ground. Unajua tukijaribu kusungumzia mambo ya wafulana, tunagundua ya kwamba it is not that heavily grounded kwa ground. That is why when we speak that when we were young, boys are told to man up. And unlike to ladies wanakuwa pampered. That is how it is grounded locally. That is why I would recommend that pia sisi hii empowerment ya boys, we start it from the grassroots level. We ground it so that tuanze to redefine that perception and concerns that boys should man up, something of that sort. So that is basically.
All right. Elaton, what will make you feel safe enough to talk about your mental health?
The support from people around me will make me safe, because when I'm not afraid of
Hold your microphone well.
Oh, sorry. When I'm not afraid of saying something, maybe after being with people who understands me well, I'll speak up my mind. But now when I'm with people whom they keep on judging, saying that you're a man, you should not be complaining, it will make me fear to speak. Yeah. And then my friend here has talked about the empowerment. I don't know why there is a women representative, but there is no men representative. Because maybe majority of the leaders are men, but they can't represent men the way women do. So I think there should be also men representatives, maybe in counties or national government, to handle these matters of mental health. Yes.
All right. Skuli said he had, a piece dedicated for the men, I guess. Now it's your time to shine.
It is just a general piece about mental health.
Okay.
So I'm an urban spoken word artist. I go by the name School Kid Poet. Mimi ni nyoki lakini this time round siyuko sure kuhusu senti nafuata kwa ua. Life imenifunza kwa mabana yenye nikakuwa mwanafunzi mpoa. Konsanza wengi uishi hapa after nyiku niambia pole na mimi najibu nishapoa. Akuanga there for you lakini hamwezi kuwa there for me. Nikimwaga machozi mnasema nitakuwa tu poa. What do I get in return kwa kuwa the man in the society? Unaniambia naenda mbali lakini hamko ready kutembea na mimi. Tunakula meza moja lakini hamwezi notice nikijiuma ulimi. Hii relationship haiwezi work kama nakujali nawe unijali. Mkinipata kwa nyumba sipumui mtasema ilikuwa ajali. Mbona nikuwe there for you na nyie hamwezi nifia? Mbona hamwezi nisaidia kujisaidia? Nyie pekee ndio mnafaidia. Nimeandika pieces mingi for this country ndio trist iko in one piece. But still art yangu inakuwa torn into pieces nikisoma gazeti. Spare something for mental health mkiprepare bajeti. Furaha inanichezea indansika na ni tani yangu kuitafuta. Lakini mbona tani yangu wakati tu kuna giza bila kusahau macho yangu wa week na tokeni yangu ya stima inalia nimesota. Wewe niambie nani ubakia high after depression nimeambia sirana ikaapa kumuua. Mamangu kila asubuhi niambia mwanangu amka jitume. Nitapata wapi nguvu niamke nijitume yet nimekesha vita na depression kila wakati ndio inashinda. Chemist ya mtaa basi nimekuwa mteja. Natumai after nimemeza overdose hizi sleeping pills na dunia nimemteja. Mtapata mwingine wa kuandikia na in case akose. Kalamu yangu nimeacha chini ya meza mtapata mkono wa kuandikia.
Kwani you guys don't know how it's done? Oh, it's done. Perfect. Thank you so much for that powerful piece. Unangoja ni dedi ndio ujue nimeishia. Perfect. But Felix, what will support look like for you and what will make you, comfortable to open up about your mental situation?
Sorry?
What will make you comfortable enough to talk about your mental situation?
I think we should have, as I've said earlier, we should have conferences.
You as Felix?
Yes.
Yes.
What
will make you comfortable, to open up about how your mental health is?
I should have a person to trust first before I should speak up.
All right. Builded?
Also empowered. I need to be empowered.
You're still thinking.
So empowerment, as I said earlier, empowerment is not just a competition. It's about balance. So ukisema men's amepewa 6 ama ngapi, it's not a competition. It's just a balance. Yes.
So Builded, what changes maybe would you want to see in terms of how society treats men's emotions?
Personally, I think there should be more professionals open for assistance. For me, I'd never again speak to a person who is not a professional. From my personal experiences, I've talked to a couple of people, gotten their input, but whatever they say ends up breaking me even more. So I'd only speak to a professional. More professionals at our disposal, then it would be better.
All right. Gladson, same question. How would you want society to treat men's emotions?
First, just make a man to be a normal human being who has emotions, feelings, behavior, and wins and loses. If you continuously make a man to always look like a winner, kuna mwenye aliniambia ya kwamba in this world is very funny. If you try and fail, no one will ever know you tried. But if you try and win, everyone will want to be known by you. So, men wamekokwaliko kunia, you people just need to succeed. Hamuna option. You just can't fail. Because if you fail, you just wasted your life off. So I think let us allow men to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable means usimwache pia akuwe soft, because when a man is soft, it's not part of his nature. Already umeanza kumtoa from his God given purpose and nature. So the thing ni wacha akuwe able to express the emotions, explain to them, let them understand who they are, what they are, what's the difference between them and women, and how should they be now be speaking up. Then two, let us take it from wakiwa wadogo. Tusingoje mwanaume akuwe over 18 ndio unaanza kumnini. Science will tell you this, that if a man may grow enough, then you are trying to remove the old habits from them. It is close to impossible. You are just fighting a losing battle. So let us start from the inception. Wakiwa 3 years, 4 years. I think the other time I was somewhere, nikambia watu kwamba easy conversation we always have, hizi ndogo ndogo za how has your day been, just wanting to know about a person, showing them that actually I'm here to listen to you, from the very basics. Very basics. For example, unapata mtu hata labda hajakula jana na wewe hujaimuuliza tu swali, basi leo umekula. So yeah, very simple, ni basic, it's a common question. Yenye mtu anaweza feel, why should I ask someone this? But from that, you might find a lot. Or instead of kumka asubuhi unaambia mtu rada ama morio ni aje, how about you start asking them, how are you feeling today? Good morning to how are you feeling? Hivyo. That's an open-ended question. Jamaa atakuspikia out a lot of things. And that's one of the things that mimi wanga na practice. Mimi si rahisi nikikuuliza ati nikwambie good morning tu nikwambie how are you? Yeah, how are you? Yes. Hiyo nilishatoka vocabulary yangu ya how are you. Si good morning tu. Ama kama ukienda good morning utaniambia what is good about the morning, najua you're not good. Okay? So how are you feeling, akueleze emotions zake. So if we normalize that even for the men space, because this one mostly unapatanga women, men to women talking about that. But for men, unasiaga mtu anakuambia hata wanaume mnaongea sentence 5 kwa text aje, mnafikaje 5. Mnafahamu ni 2 tu. Morio. Uko happy, niko huku, sawa na kama simple. But now if we initiate this conversation whereby now we let men speak about what they feel, how they their day is, what is disturbing them, tutaanza ku solve these issues wakiwa wadogo. Then they will also have a reference point whereby ataanza kusema nakumbuka mfano mtu anasemanga mimi babangu alioa wanawake 3. So kwetu goka yangu pia akaoa 3. Na nakumbuka pia great grandfather alioanga 3. So inamaanisha sisi ni watu wa moja iwezi, 2 iwezi, ni 3. So na akona reference point. So the same way, if we give men a reference point whereby they'll be looking at, babangu alikuwa kileta akiwa na issues, anatuita anatuambia this is what is there. So mean 1 2 3 4 5. So anakuwa na hiyo reference point. So let's give men a reference point. Then lastly, let us create a safe space for them. And create a safe space na manisha a space where not just any other space, a space where the men will speak their issues from the language they understand. Okay? Give them a space whereby what I feel, huyu akiongea, huyu ana relate na huyu, huyu ana relate na huyu, huyu ana relate na huyu. But if you mix, uwapatie something that is foreign to them, wataanza kuona huyu mtu anataka kutuwaka tukue wanawake.
Okay.
You know, then they will lose it, then utapata the awareness is not effective.
Sawa. Yeah. Brian, the issue of society, imeletwa sana in this conversation, but now, same question. What changes would you love to see in terms of just how, society treats men's emotions?
Some of the changes that I would really want maybe people to put in consideration is the way the society should change on how they approach men. What really brings about the difference between men and women is how the society has put men, maybe they have conditioned them to behave. I know even Daktari, of course, in her research, she had maybe at once studied the different aspects of how men are treated in the society and women are treated. What makes maybe it to be a topic of discussion, concentrating on men's side, is because men, there's a way they've been conditioned to behave, whereby if they behave like the way women behave, they're considered weak. That's why if you see a woman maybe approaching a case of the same value, of course, maybe same significance to the man, the approach will be different. So what I really feel people should do is they should really understand that because we are all humans, let it be the equality in their approaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. Daktari, now what are the consequences of this constant suppression of emotions and, bottling up feelings? in the long run. And you know they're not speaking up. That's the thing that to Ms. K in the panel. Then what advice would you have for the men, you know? All of them, they've said that they don't speak up. Only Bill that has said that he's open to speaking up, and of course, Ella taught here. But now what advice would you have for the men who are watching, who are very much,
okay,
we're not doing it?
All right. The actually consequences of not speaking up, even research has shown, they're actually very dire consequences, very detrimental, negative consequences that range from, you know, mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, to abuse of alcohol. It also affects their relationships with each other in the family or with one another. Another consequence would be, I think now when this person is not able to speak up and they have bottled up emotions and they have this mental illness, it's gonna affect even their economic productivity. So, you know, it's actually wide. It starts from, you know, an individual, and it even rolls out to, you know, the larger society. So those are the actually consequences of not speaking out. So my advice to the men here is like, I've just been listening to them, and actually that is their reality, and that is actually what we are dealing with. You know, culture is a very powerful aspect. You know, it strongly shapes our behaviors. And for someone to get out of that culture, it will need other strong interventions for them to get out of that culture. I really understand where they're coming from. So the advice would be, you know, just learn to speak, you know, to a person that you trust. And because now we have many mental health professionals in the country, you know, get into that tendency of seeking out their help as opposed to just talking to anybody else, you know. You go and seek out that help from a mental professional, and you get the help that you need, and then speak out any emotions. Do not bottle them up. And again, these awareness that we've been talking about, I think there is need for more and more of this mental health talk, especially in relation to men. But we do it generally, but I've seen that for men, they feel that they have been sidelined a little bit. So there's need for more and more of these talks about, you know, to the men, and in a language that that they understand.
All right, let's just get some feedback from, you know, our viewers before we continue with this conversation. Before we close, we have Egla Siomi anasema, some of these men problem is not women, problem is them. They don't talk when you ask them if something is wrong or just to talk to find solution for something. They don't at all, and to say no is also a problem to them. So we do agree that understanding men is hard. We've had that conversation here before, that it's hard to understand men. And Iyamasa anasema, you marry wrong, then you start crying. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, and Daktari for making time for us to have this conversation on why don't men speak up. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, a month dedicated globally just to create awareness on matters mental health. But next month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and you're hoping that they're going to be more open to talk about their mental health. And June encourages men to speak up. That is the essence of our month. So thank you so much for watching. That brings us to the end of the show. Good morning. My name is Anne Odida.